What up, Dynasty players in the house? It's the Dynasty front office, part of the Dynasty Warzone network. Please like and subscribe. I'm your host, Jesse Schneeman, and I've got so many friends with me tonight. It's amazing. Start with our guest first, the one and only Papa of the network, Uncle Memphis. How are you?
I'm good, man. Super excited to be here. You said, hey, we're doing a mock draft. I was like, hey, I like to mock draft. Let's mock draft.
Nice. And Salad Galore, at Salad Galore on Twitter, we have the one and only Dallas Hyder. God, man, it's been so long. I can't believe I haven't had you on before this. How are you?
It's been a hot second, but it's basically the whole gang here. Chad's not here, unfortunately, but neither is Jerry. But other than that, I mean, we've all been together for a while now, so it's always exciting when we can get together during rookie season. So,
yeah, folks, Chad does express his regrets. He wanted to be here in the worst way, but little family illness, so he can't make it. But as always, I do have the auspicious Austin Bell. How are you tonight, Austin?
Oh, lovely, man. I'm ready. This is exciting. I got a whole group of people here. I'm ready to go. See how bad my takes can be.
Yeah, man. How did it take us this long to do a mock draft? I mean, I think it's honestly, I think it's you, Austin, because you're so like easing us into the season, right?
I'm trying, but you you do technically schedule the shows, so if anybody's at fault, it is the main host here. Speaking of, how are you? No, I got to ask that. It's my weekly ask.
Oh, I'm wonderful, man. I'm doing this instead of watching Severance, so you could that tells you how much love I have for you guys.
Yeah, I tried before, but it wouldn't load. So
we should watch it together after. That'd be cute.
Yeah, a little watch party, rip some packs.
Do it as like a watch. Do it as a watch along.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to do that. Like on a Sunday night on the Warzone, I've always wanted to do. It's like, you can't stream it to YouTube, because they would, rip it off of YouTube because it'd be copyright infringement. But like, hey, we're all going to turn on I don't know. You can just say the Cowboys. They're on there like 6 times a season. Hey, we're going to turn on the Cowboys and the Vikings or whatever, and Jerry and I are going to commentate it for you.
Oh gosh!
Look at these guys. These guys are fucking terrible.
Yeah, screw the Manning cast.
Everybody that tells Tom Brady
the Jerry
see
cast.
How bad you are.
The Jerry cast. We might have a new thing. The Jerry cast.
And the other voice you hear, the fifth voice tonight, is Professor Major Mike Casper. How you doing tonight, Mike?
What is going on, Jesse? I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous. I always listen to everybody else's takes on rookies. This is the first rookie mock draft I've ever done, so I'm just waiting for Dallas to judge me super hard.
More of the silent judging.
I mean, you've been listen to us argue about these guys.
I want to make you smack your head at least once, Dallas, before this is over.
Well, there's a couple picks that'll do it. Trust me. So
whether they're just taken period. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, so we're going to roll with a 12-team Superflex half-point tight end premium mock draft tonight. Austin, my man, is going to man the controls, and I guess I'm just going to roll right in with Austin Genty as pick number 1.
Who? Is he new?
Yeah, who's he?
Yeah.
I mean,
even I know who he is. So if I know who he is, then everybody.
Ashton Genty. I'm from Philly, man. We don't do names. Alshon Jeffries.
Or words. You could have just said that.
Words, many words. All right, Memphis, on the clock at pick number 2. I think you got a guy.
Oh, this is a lead pipe cinch, and the more I think about it, I had the good fortune of going on the Sonic Truth with the Podfather and Theo the other day, and I think in the right landing spot, Omarion Hampton, put him on the board, easy pick. I think he pushes Ashton Genty. I was listening to one of my non-fantasy football related podcasts. It's an NFL podcast, and it's like, don't draft small people with premium picks. And not to say that Ashton Genty, and this guy, his name's John Middlecoff. Have you ever heard of him? He was talking about how 5'8" guy from the WAC, versus it's not that he can't be really good, but if I don't know, I saw Omarion Hampton in person in Indianapolis for the combine. The term built different is used a little liberally at this point in time in 2025. This dude is literally built differently. I mean, traps on traps. I mean, huge. And like, he's listed as the same size as Caleb Johnson. I I have to believe it. They have no reason to lie to me, but they look visually different. This kid had 38 catches last year without Drake May. Again, it would have to take the right spot like a Denver, but in the right spot, he's going to push Genty for the one. That's my guy.
Yeah, there are a lot of podcasts out there calling for him to go in the first round. A lot of people want, want teams to pass on Genty because they can get a Hampton later.
It's not going to be much later.
It won't be much.
Yeah,
It's probably going to be a first now.
I think he's going to go top 15, to be perfectly honest with you.
Real quick, and I'm not trying to delay the show, but there's a guy named Austin Martin, and he's a Austin R. Martin on X, and he is a super high limit player. Like in the league he did this in, it was a $5,000 league. He traded the 101 for the 102 and a 2026 first. And I was like, hard to beat. And this was, like I said, this was in a $5,000 buy-in. So he was really applying the science. I said, I love the trade.
Yeah.
Because really at the end of the day, we're drafting points. And do I think Omarion Hampton can score as many points as Ashton Genty? I do.
For $5,000, you're drafting rookies before the NFL draft?
No. He was trading the picks. He was just trading
the picks.
I mean, it was the 101 for the 102, and he's in agreement with me. He wants to be in on the Omarion Hampton business, and he has this cushion of a 26 first to go along with it. I was like, you ain't got to convince me.
Right on. Yeah. McShay, Daniel Jeremiah, like a lot of the big names are kind of right there with you. Like Hampton is almost Genty, kind of is what I'm hearing. All right, Dallas.
Yeah.
What you got?
I'll finish this conversation up before I go into mine. The only thing I'll have with that is I'll ask you guys, like, when's the last time you watched Genty tape? Because I feel like most people watch Genty during the season. We're like, okay, this guy's really good. Haven't touched the film since. And so it's very easy to become allured, and you have that tape fatigue and the talk fatigue of the offseason. Like what he did against Oregon specifically last year on tape, on film, and in the stat sheet is really hard to talk against, regardless of what you want to say about size, due to the defense that Oregon had last year. It's just really hard for me to take that jump. I think Denver is pretty much the only spot, Memphis, you brought it up early, that I would be willing to elevate him overhand in rookie drafts at this point. It's the only one for me.
Yeah, I went back actually and watched some of his 23 tape, and because I wanted to see the receiving, and it's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, Hampton is a good receiver as well. I mean, that's definitely not a red flag for him, but Genty's different level.
I don't have an avenue where he touches it for me. I think Genty's the one by himself all day.
You can love both of them. That's the thing, is like I always love when this happens during the offseason when people are like, oh, is it Genty over Omarion over Genty? It's like they're both really freaking good. They're just two different flavors of ice cream. That's always my rookie analogy. But going into my pick on this one, it is a super flex. I have to go Cam Ward in this situation. For me, there's no way he gets past Cleveland. If he goes to Cleveland, it's a slightly better situation than Tennessee, but realistically, he goes number one overall. If it's super flex, you kind of have to take the quarterback in that situation. My comp for him, a lot of people like to throw the Jameis one out, but for me, he reminds me a lot of Ryan Tannehill. It's controlled chaos. Like it's a guy who can ad lib at the position better than most. It'll get him into trouble a lot, but if he has the same type of progression in his career, people forget Ryan Tannehill was a top 12 quarterback for like 3 years in a row, basically, during that transition period. That's what I see for Cam Ward at the quarterback position. Value-wise, I have to go Ward in this sake.
Austin, would you take Cam Ward at number 3?
Yeah, you have to. I'd have taken him at 2 before Hampton, but you have to here, assuming like Dallas just said, he's the top 2 lock in the NFL draft. And at that point, at 3, you have to do it.
Yeah. I was pretty sold on him. And then I listened to Greg Cosell, who's my man. And Greg Cosell is in love with Cam Ward and is basically begging the Titans to take him.
Yeah, which I think they're going to listen.
I think they're going to. They've shown their hand pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've not been in the...
They haven't signed anyone. And they're not in the top of any of the other old guys that are left.
But also they don't need to, because Will Levis is a pretty good backup. Like, that's the thing, is like you're drafting the same type of flavor ice cream, like I said, with Ward as what you have in Levis, but his faults are nowhere near what Levis's were coming out.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully doesn't put mayo in his coffee.
Yeah. That was the most obvious red flag ever.
Yeah. All right, Austin, who you got at number 4?
Well, I picked 4 because I thought I was going to be spicy and be able to pick my RB2. But y'all left me the most obvious pick in Tet McMillan. I would have been deciding between him at 2 with Ward. So my easy wide receiver 1, assuming Travis Hunter isn't a full-time receiver. Just a bona fide wide receiver 1. I've seen a lot of talk this week, especially on X, about how he's a 2, he's this, he's that. But from the tape I've watched, if he goes into about any of the offenses we're expecting him to go to, he's going to see the target share and has the after the catch ability to put up wide receiver 1 numbers for fantasy pretty soon, in my opinion.
So, yeah. All right. First of all, what did you call him? How did you announce his name?
Tet. I'm not trying that full name.
Yeah, no, it's Tet. It is
T-Mac,
Tet.
baby.
He wants to be called T-Mac, but I have news for Mr. McMillan. You can't nickname yourself. I'm sorry, that's not how it works in the world. Other people
And that one's
give you your
taken.
nickname.
And that one's taken.
Yeah, exactly. So he's
for like 2 years.
That was Tracy McGrady.
I was about to say
T-Mac.
2 years. It's like a decade and a half.
Yeah, he had a lengthy NBA career.
I know all about the Raptor great. I have a jersey actually in the room. Tracy McGrady is my favorite NBA player. Him and Chris Paul, both former Raptors.
So anybody have a problem with that here? Is he
No,
wide receiver 1 for everyone?
I was
Here,
hoping
no.
Austin was going to go somewhere else so I could draft Tet, make it
Dallas-
easy for me.
Dallas, do you still have Burden as your wide receiver 1?
Yeah, it's so I get the NFL talk. I have a hard time thinking that Tet is going to be a better NFL pro than what Burden's going to be. And so that's just like what I feel in my core. And so it's hard for me. Like in this situation, I'd be flirting really hard depending on landing spot with the other quarterback or potentially another running back in this position and not taking a wide receiver most likely. It's just really hard. And I'm a route runner at heart. And when it comes to Burden for me, like it's night and day. I do think there are definitely shades of Drake London to T-Mac, but for me, he's not quite there yet. Like you said, people are talking whether or not he's a 1, a 2. He is for sure a through and through X wide receiver. So when it comes to that type of aspect in the NFL, you either have to be a Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson to be a true wide receiver 1 in fantasy, or else you're always going to be in that T. Higgins realm of flirting with wide receiver 20. There's basically no between for the true X when it comes to fantasy ranks. So
I hate to say Jerry got something right, but the more I look at this, Tet McMillan's Cortland Sutton. Big guy, athletic, and Cortland Sutton's fine, by the way. It's not to bash Tet McMillan, but that's his ceiling. And because I'm reading right now, and I just picked a scouting report, Bleacher Report in this case, and the negatives are route tempo needs more urgency, route salesmanship. If you're just 6'5" and you're not a good route runner, you're not Drake London. You're Cortland Sutton. There's a huge difference, and he doesn't have that breakaway speed. He feels destined to be a. I'm just going off the scouting reports. If I was a scout, I'd be working for the NFL. But I just tell you what I just aggregate and agitate.
I would say the biggest difference is Tet's after the catch ability. Sutton didn't have that. He was a high point ball. He was very good at 50-50s, which McMillan is as well. But Tet's a very good player after the catch. I mean, that's where he got a ton of his yardage in college because his quarterback couldn't throw an accurate ball half the time.
But what was the level of tacklers at the the Pac-12 into the whatever Mountain Whack West SWAC? I mean, we've seen a lot of these yak guys, and I'm not calling him Traylon Burks, but we've seen this big guys who out-athlete everybody in college, and they get to the NFL with a lot of elite athletes, and all of a sudden they just don't dominate like that anymore. I don't think he's going to be crushing candy bars and coming in all fluffy and all of a sudden develop asthma like a Traylon Burks. I just don't see a legit NFL 1. If he was a route runner, cool. I'd say Drake London all day, but he's not, so I can't. But I get why people like him because this is a very, very debatable wide receiver group.
So I think his route running is underrated. I think he's not a good route runner is way overstated. He is a good route runner. He just lacks a little polish in certain areas that's really coachable in the NFL. Like the things that he lacks are sort of tempo at the top of his step.
Tempo's
right?
his big miss currently.
Yeah, exactly. And we talked about that. That's very coachable. And his separation, I think, is underrated. He doesn't need quite as much separation as most wide receivers because of the wingspan, because of the high point. Compared to Drake London and T. Higgins at that size, he's a more fluid mover.
Mm-hmm.
I just like the way he moves way more.
Dude, give some respect to T. Higgins.
Okay, T. Higgins is pretty elite at his size, but man, go back and watch Ted again. Man, so smooth.
Yeah, no, and so I completely agree. Like, I'm not taking anything away with my Burden versus Tech conversation. I agree. I think Drake London is kind of the perfect comp because I think it's somewhere in the realm of Cortland Sutton, Drake London. Then you have like T, who I would have very slightly ahead of the Tech range, basically for me. And then you have the ceiling wise of like a Nico Collins. Okay. So you're looking at like the broad spectrum of those big bodied wide receivers. Each of them have certain nuances associated with their game. But the reason I lean Drake more so, and that a lot of people are, is because of that yard after catch. Like Austin said, like that's what Drake had. He shouldn't have had that at his size in the same capacity as Tech shouldn't have that at his size. The other aspects of the game, he's either going to find or not, and that's where he's going to slide up and down on that gradient scale of the true X big-bodied outside guy, at least for me.
And Dallas, you've given me my good, better, best. Our good comparison, if he's just good as Cortland Sutton, if he hits that better, he's T. Higgins, who's never had a wide receiver 1 season, even though Jamar Chase has missed time. Anywho, in his best case scenario is Drake London. Good, better, best. Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, or I just said it, Drake London. Good, better, best.
Yeah. Anybody who listens to this podcast knows I'm not a T fan, but to give T a little bit of credit, it's injuries for him. That's the only thing that's ever stopped him from being a wide receiver 1.
His per game averages are insane. Like if you actually look into it, like that's me and Memphis have talked about T for half a decade at this point. Like that has been my dude. He moves so smoothly for a big guy, and I don't think he's quite there. But I this is like all about nuance. We're arguing about a guy who's going
absolutely
right now.
Yeah.
So
all right, Mike, before you make your pick, would you say that Dallas just said that T. Higgins is the Dallas Goedert of wide receivers, basically, with the points per game?
No, I'm going to answer that for Mike. No.
Oh,
absolutely
gosh.
not.
No.
Dallas Goedert.
If anything,
healthy,
he's the
man.
David Njoku of points per games played. All right.
There we go.
That's more accurate.
A real tight end one.
Career average T. Higgins 14.2 PPR points per game, coming off of a career high of 18.5 last year in 12 games, hence the injury conversation. And the year before that was 11.5, which he played 12 games again. And I think his quarterback was injured that year with the wrist. So
yeah,
I think 14.2 is fair.
Yeah. I'm not a T stan, so don't get me on here arguing for T, please.
Are we drafting? Who's on the clock?
I am, yeah.
We're messing Mike all around.
I know, right?
It's like, can I make a goddamn pick?
Well, we're giving them time to look up the names.
No, it would. I mean, I think a lot of this depends on what happens in the draft because I don't think 3 running backs would go in the first round, but if one went really high in the second, it'd be really tempting for me. But either way, one of my next 3 picks, I would want to go to the Broncos, which was Henderson, Warren, or Burden. So I'm going to go Burden here and pretend in this scenario they actually do give him to the Broncos, even though they have Cortland Sutton there. I feel like in the past rookie drafts, I've seen it a lot where, Brian Thomas was pushed sometimes out of the first round, and pushing some of these wide receivers out of the first rookie that are drafted in the first out of the first round of rookie drafts, I think is kind of insane. So unless it's Traylon Burks. But I don't think we had that with Burden. So that's why I'll go there.
Yeah.
No argument because y'all just talked about Burden.
No,
So might as well just go on to Jesse's pick.
Luther Burden's my wide receiver one in the class, and I think his better best. I think he's in that Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I just had it in DJ Moore. I think those are in his range of outcomes, and if I get either one of those, I'm thrilled. Again, that's what you're looking for, and I agree with Mike. Where he lands is going to go a long way. And I actually think Denver's perfect because Cortland Sutton does what he does. Evan Ingram does what he does. Luther Burden fits perfectly in that receiving group. I would love him in Denver. I mean, I think Denver would be great. Now, I think it'd be a little redundant in LA with, like, say, the Chargers or the Rams. It would be redundant. So you want him, like, New England obviously is the home run spot. What is New England picks, like 38th or 39th in the second round? If Luther Burden's still there's your slam dunk, and then we're really talking situation then.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm on the board, and I kind of like what Mike did because Burden's my wide receiver 4. He scares me a little bit. If you watch,
you're gonna take Golden, aren't you?
If you watch the tape from last year, it's not the tape from the year before. The regression is just something that's got me spooked. So, I have Golden as my number 2 wide receiver. But what I'm going to do here is take the only other running back that I think has a chance to go in the first round, the only other running back on the board right now with a true NFL 3-down set, and that's Travion Henderson. The man can run the ball inside, outside, can catch the ball, probably the best receiver in this class. Out of all of the top tier guys, anyway, you might have some of the later guys that are better pure receiving backs, but out of the top tier guys, this is your best receiver, right? This is your best pass protector, and I think he'll play. He showed that he can play tough between the tackles. Obviously, he can run outside, no problems with that. Travion Henderson, he's my guy here. I'm hearing whispers that he could go at the end of the first round.
Well, I believe I'm on the clock. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It is.
I would like to thank you for leaving me the better Ohio State running back.
That's right.
And I will take his college teammate, Quinshawn Judkins. I'm a size whore, and this guy, is the exact same. He's the exact same size as Omarion Hampton, but per player profiler, he's the best athlete in the class. And he chipped in last year, for a guy who's sharing the backfield with another really good pass catcher, for him to have caught 22 balls last year, it kind of says a lot. You don't catch a lot of balls when your team's usually clubbing the opponents like a baby seal. I think this kid is an amazing athlete. He's a good running back in his own right. His numbers were down last year because they did bring in Henderson, and it worked. They won a national championship. But I'll just take the bigger athlete. I'm always going to default to the bigger athlete. I'm a gym bro. What do you want me to say?
I will tell you that I've always loved Judkins back to his old Miss days. He was a monster there in the SEC. His combine just surprised me and really vaulted him up neck and neck with Travion. Travion was at one point my running back too, until I went back and watched Hampton again and just saw the testing. But Judkins put himself right there with Travion for me. So, I mean, it is kind of a tough pick, but again, I default to the pass pro and the receiving skill set.
I'm with you, but I got one guy runs a 4.43 at 202 pounds, and I got one guy runs a 4.48 at 221 pounds.
It was eye popping. It really was
best comparable to Nick Chubb, but in fairness, Travion Henderson best comparable to Reggie Bush. So neither one's wrong. Again, it goes back to the what's your flavor of ice cream. I'm a Judkins guy, but I want to hear what Dallas wants to say.
Yeah,
he's trying to get in here.
I mean, I'm up next, so I'll just really quickly hash out the RB situation at Ohio State. Judkins, I would say, is the bigger enigma right now because he put himself out of a better situation to go and compete at Ohio State with Henderson, knowing full well that he was going to be splitting the carries. They had basically identical seasons on the year right now. One was used primarily in the power back situation in this year, and it surprisingly was Henderson a lot of the time. Judkins in between the 20s was a monster, though. If you need a guy that can grind you out those 7 to 8 yard carries, he's the guy in the class that will most likely get you that. Both very interesting backs. Like Memphis said, it's definitely a flavor of ice cream. For full transparency for both of those guys in this year's class for me, when it comes to comparisons, you have a guy like Quinshon Judkins. He reminds me of Brian Robinson coming out. To be honest with you, I was higher on Brian Robinson than a lot of people were coming out, but that's the kind of profile that I see from him. And then when you look at a guy like Trevion Henderson, injury history has to come into it. For me, your ceiling, realistically, and I don't throw this name around lightly, it's Maurice Jones-Drew for me. Like, if you hit a healthy Trevion Henderson, you're looking at MJD because he has game-breaking ability. Whether or not he's going to fall into an offense that gives him those 300 carries a year that MJD was getting in the middle of his career, that's the biggest question for me. Really hoping he doesn't land in the committee. Really bad situation for him is like second round of Pittsburgh would be awful, but they only have Jalen Warren. That feels like a team that could definitely do that type of situation, make it really ugly. Both those guys fun. I'll continue the running back run though with my pick up here. It's a guy I have in the same tier as both of those guys. I've talked about him before on the show with Memphis. When it comes to the war zone, it's Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. When it comes to game-breaking running ability with Dylan Sampson, his contact balance, for me, this year, as a slightly undersized back, is up there with Genty, up there with Omarion. The dude runs extremely physical, and I think a lot of people think because he's in the one-cut style of running back that he's running a lot of spread. If you look at his splits based off of 2024, which he gained 10 pounds in muscle. You could see in his legs. I talked about this earlier. He ran inside on over 80% of his carries in between the tackles, which is not what you would typically see with a guy of his size. And he consistently was getting you those large chunk runs. He doesn't have a third gear. He has that second gear, and he hits it extremely quickly from the running back position. He was underutilized in the Tennessee scheme. Anyone who's watched a lot of Tennessee tape over the last couple of years with all these prospects that we've had coming out knows they don't throw the ball to the running backs. He's very capable in that aspect. The guy he reminds me the most of coming out is Aaron Jones. If he falls and ends up going to like a Minnesota, which I know they re-signed Jones, you're going to have that same like Jalen Wright type of situation as last year. I think he's a guy that could really, really earn you trade value or long-term dynasty value on your teams, especially in the middle to late end of the first round. I think he's going in the second round. I don't think it's really a question. His tape this year was just way too good. I'm curious to see what you guys think about him.
We're big fans here.
Yeah, I'm curious to talk about the guy that I thought you would have picked. I forgot about your man crush with Samson, excuse me. And the muscle gain speaks to the carry volume. He went from 103 carries in 2023 to 258. So essentially about 133% increase in workload. Oh yeah. And he also had 1,500 yards rushing, and he caught 20 balls. Funny thing is he had 22 touchdowns. So he had more touchdowns than receptions. The guy knows how to find the end zone and in the right offense. This is why Denver is such an intriguing spot, because we've seen a Sean Payton use a guy like Mark Ingram and have fantasy success. We've seen Reggie Bush. We've seen Pierre Thomas. We've seen Alvin Kamara do it well. This is the kind of guy that if he goes in that landing spot and like they take him day 2, you have to respect that landing spot in that offense. He could literally pole vault himself into the RB3 category for a lot of people. I think sky's the limit, and landing spot will help a ton. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no arguments here, Austin. Any problems with him?
I wasn't expecting it, but I like seeing it.
Yeah. Now it gets really tough.
No, it doesn't. This is
okay.
really easy.
Yeah, I mean, we're still
this is my slam dunk.
Yeah,
I did not expect Tyler Warren to sit here at 1.9 for me. So
yeah,
this is easy peasy for me.
Yeah, this is where for the first time in a bajillion years, these 109 through 112 picks are really, really good because and imagine how good they'd be if we actually had a couple of more good quarterbacks
Yeah.
in this class. These back end picks would be super valuable. I think if you're a contender with your own pick, you've maybe are in the best draft in the last 3 years at replenishing a championship dynasty roster in Superflex, tight end premium.
At least at wide receiver and tight end. I will say we've already gotten 5 running backs in the first 9 picks.
But there's still like 3 or 4 more I like.
They replaced some of the quarterbacks.
But like all these guys that are going to pop up right now are going to be wide receivers and tight ends, typically at the tail end of this. So you really need those positions, I think, in order to reap the benefits.
I think you can always use a wide receiver, and in tight end premium, you can always throw them in your flex. It's tough for me here because you have a consummate professional in Egbuka. You have a stud tight end. You have another tight end after that, and you still have my wide receiver 2 in the class. So, I mean, there's a lot of options here. Mike, who you got?
Well, I'm gonna avoid all of that because I think Shedeur is going to be a first round pick either way. And once you get past 110 for a rookie draft pick, if you can grab a quarterback, Justin Herbert back when he was being picked, he was going towards the end of the first round back in the day. So I'm not saying he's going to be the best, not saying he's going to be the greatest, but I think all this hubbub of, hey, he might not be a first round pick or he's going to be picked in the 20s. I don't believe that for a damn second. Someone's going to be desperate.
I just want to say thank you for not being a homer and saying Bo Nix last year. Good job. Good job.
Yeah, Bo Nix too, right?
Good job.
This is the Daniel Jones pick all over again, and I cannot wait for him to go to the Giants. I'm fully ready for it.
I'm so glad Chad's not here.
Yeah, right.
I saw him in the chat earlier.
I does not want him to go there. So, but yeah.
I mean, the value's there, but I'm not taking him. So the NFL is going to have to prove to me that they believe in him more than I do before I take him in the first.
Wow, this is really hard for me. But I'm just going to go by my board. Yeah. I'm going to go by my board, and I'm just going to take my wide receiver 2, and that's Matthew Golden. The man is electric. You saw it at the combine. If you've watched any of his games, you saw it in the playoffs. Guy transferred to Texas from Houston to be the beta to Isaiah Bond and just took over as the alpha. I mean, that's who this guy is. Like I said, he's electric. If you like route runners, Dallas, I'm sure you like Matthew Golden, right? You see him make a juke and you see the cornerback run 5 yards the other way. It's awesome. And he can play outside. He can get off press. He can play inside. There's a lot of positional versatility. My comp for him is Jeremy Maclin.
You don't want to hear my comp for him.
Okay. Yeah, I do.
It's Henry Ruggs with worse college stats.
Oh, no.
Dude, pull up his athletic profiler, his profile on Player Profiler, and you just look for yourself.
I'm not
allowed. Yeah, but watch the game. He's not. They're not even similar receivers at all.
No, I mean they don't play the same game.
I mean, he had 58 catches for a team that played 16 games.
I mean, did you see
he
was throwing the?
Sucks that bad.
Yes, you were just terrible.
He's awesome.
He's erratic.
But you're not giving Luther that pass. You're not giving Luther Burden that pass. Oh well, he didn't have a good quarterback. Quinn Ewers is better than whoever was in Missouri. And then Arch Manning when he wasn't in there. Quarterback, he's going to get drafted in the second round of the NFL draft, maybe the third.
Who, Golden?
No.
Ewers?
Ewers.
Oof.
A lot of teams are going to take a shot on him. I'm not trying to tear the kid down. And Cody Carpentier, who works for Orange Bloods, like he's a Texas guy. He even was like, "Why did you hit me with that diabolical Henry Ruggs take?" Because it's true. I mean, how are you a elite wide receiver and have 58 catches in 16 games? You played 16 college football games. That's not even 4 catches a game, and you're elite.
I mean,
I don't see it.
If you watch it, you know.
Oh, he's an elite. He's an elite athlete. I've seen plenty of guys like this in the NFL.
I agree with both sides on this. If you deep dive into the production aspect of it, Memphis is not wrong. Like, he was the 3rd wide receiver for 2 years in a row on the Houston Cougars. He could not beat out Sam Brown, who was dust, had no speed. You you did not see this speed aspect of his game until this year. And so it becomes the 1-year wonder corollary at wide receiver, which you either don't care about or you care about. And if you're normally one to care about it and you're forgetting about that now, it's something that you kind of have to reevaluate a little bit with how you're assessing him. For me, I don't think he's correct with the Henry Ruggs at all. Different games. I see John Mechie a lot when I look at Matthew Golden with how he's used. He's just a little bit faster. So he's basically a slightly faster Mechie for me before the injury, which we were all very optimistic of Mechie coming out. We all liked his game, tons of yards after catch if he got the ball in the right situation. I think the first round conversation on Golden is a little bit suspect from the 1-year production profile, but it's inevitable being at Texas, a big school, watching it on the main stage. He's blatantly better than Isaiah Bond, but I think there's a comparison elevation where everyone had the idea that Bond was going to be a first-round wide receiver. If Matthew was better this year, well, he must be a first-round wide receiver. Both of them, I think, are more in that category of second round, third round for me. Overall prospect wise, they're great route runners, but I haven't seen a long enough track record to be in on either one of them. And Golden going as high as wide receiver 2 in this class would be very unsavory for me.
Yeah. I've never been a real production guy. It's like the last thing I look at. I'm always the traits and what
You're just a Russian roulette guy. You like to spin the dial and just put it up there.
Were y'all out on Ladd then? Is that what y'all are saying? Because of lack of production last year?
I didn't have Ladd inside my top 3 wide receivers last year, and I feel comfortable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody had him top 3.
But that's my okay. Well, that's my conversation. He's going as wide receiver 3 in this class.
It's a worse class. It's not as good of a class.
And he's also going at 111, which is like that. If he's going 111, 112, that's where Ladd was going, or early second. It's still kind of the same range.
A good pose question for you based off of this kind of prospect profile. All right. Would you have preferred a guy like Josh Downs coming out or a guy like Matthew Golden coming out?
I really like Downs.
See,
Downs is an elite separator.
I like Golden.
And Downs was like the 6th wide receiver in his class in a very comparable wide receiver class 2 years ago.
And Marvin Mims is another physical comparison from a speed and the size standpoint.
And so he's just a unique profile in this class, and I think that's what's causing people to really latch onto him. That's just how I feel about it. I understand the traits that people are latching onto. It's just what I stray away from on prospects. I'm okay with missing out on a Ladd like last year because in that place, I would be taking a running back. I'd be taking a different position rather than reaching on that wide receiver that I'm uncomfortable taking at the back end of the first.
You ended up with Trey Benson.
I mean, Trey Benson was going like halfway through the second round, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
well, speaking of Trey Benson, I'm going to select a running back with this next pick.
All right.
I mean, you've already seen him in black and gold, and I said this on a podcast earlier this week. Don't be shocked if this guy is a Pittsburgh Steeler. I'm going Caleb Johnson. I mean, his physical profile is so Najee Harris-esque. Like you look at the height, you look at the weight, you look at the speed, you look at the speed score. You know, and I get he had the great year last year and he was a one-man band. But if there was ever a 1-to-1 comparable for Caleb Johnson, it's Najee Harris. And I'm going to laugh out loud when he winds up replacing Najee Harris in Pittsburgh and he becomes the new Najee. Give me the new Najee. Give me Caleb. Caleb Johnson. Caleb with a K, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's something. Austin?
That's new. Yeah, I one of the kids that I coach in travel baseball is Caleb with a K. It's new. It's newer. This new generation. They didn't like the traditional C. It's fine. That's probably the reason why he's probably not as athletic as he should be.
Austin, you're a Caleb Johnson guy, right?
No, that's Chad.
Oh, that's Chad.
I think we're going to be in the vast minority to have Caleb Johnson fall to 112 in a rookie mock draft.
Depends on where he goes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say most podcasts at this moment will have him at that right around Judkins area or even before.
Well, that's because
it would be where I took Sampson is where people will take.
Correct.
Yeah, I'd rather have Sampson personally.
Well, just because other people are doing it. What'd your mom tell you? Your dad when you were a kid? If your friends are jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge, would you do it? No. You guys on this show do it right. You don't do what everybody else does. You do what the data and the research tells you. You're doing fine.
That's how you draft Jalen Rager.
Yeah,
Dang.
who-
Sorry,
who-
That was for Jesse. That was for Jesse.
I was going to say Jerry's guy was Corey Coleman.
Yeah.
Ooh, I remember that one.
Yeah. Well, to kind of tie this all in as I'm teeing up for my pick, Jimmy Parogue, I don't know exactly how your last name is, but in the chat said he cannot believe that Ibuka fell to the second. That should never happen.
Yeah, it's insane.
Hate to rub salt in your wound. I'm not taking Ibuka here. I'm taking a different wide receiver.
All right, before you do that, Dallas, let's recap the first round. Austin.
Okay, go ahead.
1-1 was Ashton Genty. 1-2 Amarian Hampton. 1-3 Cam Ward. 1-4 Tet McMillan. 1-5 Luther Burden. 1-6 Travion Henderson. 1-7 Quinshon Judkins. 1-8 Dylan Sampson. 1-9 Tyler Warren. 1-10 Shador Sanders. 1-11 Matthew Golden. And to finish the round, 1-12 Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, I can't believe Igbuka's still there.
Yeah,
It
feels crazy.
I'm not taking Igbuka. I'm taking Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State.
Oh,
He's been my wide receiver 3 this entire offseason. You cannot watch his tape and tell me that you don't like what you see. You may like Igbuka, but I feel like and this is coming from an Ohio State guy through and through. My entire life was born in Youngstown, Ohio. Whole family is. Igbuka is getting hype for being an Ohio State wide receiver, not for being the prospect that everyone sees he to be. I can tell you that from watching everyone over the last 5 years to come out of Ohio State, he's not even close to what the hype is in the conversation of this class. Jaden Higgins is a better prospect for me personally. He's got the body. He tested out of the gym, which I don't typically care about, and I didn't really care about. But for everyone else, they noticed that he tested out of the gym the same way with his teammate, Jalen Noel. But his body of work, consistent production as the tried and true wide receiver 1 for the Iowa State Buckeyes, Hawkeyes, consistently got better each single year for Iowa State. And there's nothing that he can't do, is what I would say. He's a decent enough route runner as that size. His stop-up ability is above average for that size. He's a very fluid mover on the outside, and his contested catch ability in this class is up there with everyone else other than Trey Harris, which was also mentioned in the chat earlier. I just love Jaden Higgins. He's at the top of the next tier for me. I would take him over any other wide receiver. He's ahead of Matthew Golden for me because we've seen it every single year progression, and that explosive ability on the outside is a true X.
Yeah, I like the tape. I have lovely things to say about Jalen Noel as well. No, how do you say it?
Noel.
It looks like Noel. Like
It sounds like it too.
Okay. The All 22 doesn't have sound, so I don't know how the announcer's saying his name.
Does anyone have any kickback on him? Because everyone was like,
No.
"Whoa!" when I picked him. But
You're
like,
gonna look really.
No, I
smart
mean,
in
look,
8 months.
I mean, he jumps out. He's a stud. I just don't know. I just don't know if he's going to get drafted high enough for me to really be able to take him there. If it happens, I'm with you, buddy.
Oh, he's a day 2 guy for sure.
Is he?
Yeah.
Austin, you're up. Are you going Ibuka next?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take him off.
Oh,
no,
okay.
actually, no. I'm
Okay.
not.
Then I'm
No.
going to save my Ibuka comment. The reason why I like the Higgins pick is you're in that same range, and you're chasing more upside. I'll leave it at that. I'll talk about Ibuka when we get there. But yeah, I don't have any problem with that, Dallas, because you're chasing super high end production.
Yeah.
Cool.
Austin, who are you taking here?
I've got to take the guy. I've got to take Travis Hunter. I've got to hope that he plays receiver because he's too good of a receiver and get me fantasy points. So I'm just going to take the player, the prospect, and pray that they announce receiver when they draft him early in the first round.
Wow. Okay. Right on. If he were to dedicate himself to wide receiver only, I'd probably have him above Tet. I just think it's a fantasy, so I don't spend much time thinking about it.
I agree, Jesse. There's such a shortage of elite corners, and you're seeing the money that the elite corners get now is much closer to the elite wide receivers. And let's be honest, it's easier to break up. Neither's easy, but it's easier to break up a pass than it is to catch a pass. And when you at any industry, if you're working in an area where it's a shortage, he'll make the elite money. And I know he's a good wide receiver. I just don't know that he would ever get to that elite status in the NFL. So why not play where you're already elite in the cornerback? I think that's what the NFL will do. They'll put him out there for some fun stuff like his mentor Deion Sanders played some offense, but not enough to be fantasy relevant. I hope I'm wrong because he's really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right. But in the second, I'm fine taking my chance in March. Now, by draft by draft season, you're probably right. He's a much better corner, which is saying something because I think he can be a wide receiver one, but he's ready now to be a corner one on pretty much any team he goes to.
Yeah, if you want to evaluate him as a wide receiver, he does have elite traits, but as a route runner, he's not elite. He does get elite separation, but that's from his athleticism. So
that's from those hips that are
exactly.
just absurd.
Yeah. So he would need polish to really be a wide receiver one.
And I have more of a context question for you, Austin. So where you're at the 202, are you hedging your bet being the second worst team in the league, like on paper?
No.
With Travis Hunter?
In March, sure. But by the time I actually do a rookie draft, I don't have to. But the talent.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious right now.
No, the talent for me is worth the risk currently. But in a real draft, no, I'm probably not doing this before I know he's gonna play receiver or not.
Okay.
Because curious. It's not worth it in the early second. Now, if 209, sure, I'll just take my shot and pray that they play him out there 40% of receiver snaps.
All right. Yeah, I can't argue with it. Mike, are you going to take the low-hanging fruit here or not?
I'm debating whether I should or not. I almost feel like I shouldn't. This should be an Ibuka hate podcast or something like that.
I want you to so bad.
Yeah, so I'll take Loveland. I'll take another first round tight end.
Man, I want to be one of these hipsters like these other guys and talk about my guy.
I think I just want to see Jamie just melt down in the chat.
I don't want to be the podcast that just passed on Ibuka till the third round.
No, then you got to take him here, Jesse.
I'm gonna take him. I love Ibuka. I think he should have gone 7 picks ago. Like I said, consummate professional. Wingspan, catches everything near him. Slot flanker in the NFL. No, I don't think he's an alpha, but at the end of the first, early second, I don't think I'm getting an alpha anyway. I think in PPR, he's going to be plenty productive for me to plug into a wide receiver 2 or 3 role and get me 15 points a game.
Yeah. If he goes to Jacksonville opposite of BTJ, he's going to go, for me, probably 1.6, 1.7.
There are so many places.
Because he's that good of a receiver, but he's not flashy. He's just like you said, a professional. He just gets open and catches the ball.
Yeah,
I'm looking at a mock right now. Currently mocked 33 overall to the Browns. So I
won't take him then.
Yeah, that's
never mind.
He's I'm on the clock. So with this being super flex, and I think this guy's stock could really rise depending on where he lands. I'm going to go Jackson Dart. And it's the Bo Nix corollary. That's the one thing I pride myself on last year. And Mike, I know he's a Denver Bronco, to remind me, but that was part of the reason why I was so high on Bo Nix last year. You know, he being Jackson Dart needs to go to the right system. You know, even if he has to sit for a year, like I would love for him to go to New Orleans, sit for a year behind Derek Carr. They can't move Derek Carr. If they could take him at 40 overall, I think that would be a great landing spot. But depending on where he lands, he may wind up backing into the back end of a first round because people are going to start chasing that Bo Nix upside if he lands with a stud coach.
I would love to see the Rams. That would be awesome if the Rams traded up or something. That would
I would love to see as a Colts fan. I would have no problem if the Colts took him at traded back into the top of the second round because you got to have a quarterback. The kid's got some good traits. I think he kind of like a Jordan Love would benefit from sitting behind a guy like Derek Carr. Whether you like Derek Carr or not, especially for fantasy, I get it. But he's a pro and kind of has like that Alex Smith good dude vibe about him. I could see him mentoring a young guy and really someone who would be interesting from almost like a JJ McCarthy, where you don't use him his rookie year, and then you're super excited come this time next year. So I'll just take Jackson Dart.
I got news for you. I'm hearing he could actually go 21 to the Steelers.
That's what then he would not be my pick. Oh man, the Steelers just are.
Their O line is bad.
Their O line is
it's
bad,
not,
and you're trading seconds for DK Metcalf. It's like the most un-Steeler move ever. I don't know. It's super weird. It
is the weirdest wide receiver room in the NFL. That is for sure.
It's the spot where I could.
I don't want to be the quarterback of either of those two guys.
I could literally see Cleveland take him at 33 with the first pick of the second round.
Yeah, that was brought up by Jamie again in the chat. He brought up Dart to the Browns in the second, and I think that would be a good one.
With Stefanski, I agree 100%. That would be a spot. I know Cleveland's where quarterbacks go to die, but I think that would be a really good one.
Yeah. So I'm up next. I'll quickly touch on the last couple picks. Love Loveland, big fan of him. He's in basically any other class. The tight end one reminds me a lot of Pat Freiermuth when he was coming out. Grinder, a little bit more explosive than you see coming out. Injuries was really the only reason he didn't have counting stats. Egbuka was my next wide receiver on the list for me, Jesse, so not super far off on that. We've talked about him at length. He reminds me of Khalil Shakir, so kind of that mold that you guys are talking about, tried and true, consummate professional, slot, flanker role, probably going to get that 3-year, $50 million contract that Shakir got, never look back. Going on to Dart, I like him a lot more than most people. He's in the same tier as Cam Ward for me. I have him above Shadur. He throws the prettiest deep ball in the entire class. Like they have different play styles, but his throwing motion and his outside targetability, you can't elevate Trey Harris and not elevate Dart due to the production that Harris had and the flashy plays, because the ball that Harris is catching is almost always in a perfect position, specifically downfield. Dart does it better than almost anyone in the class, and he reminds me a lot of Jaden Daniels on the outside passing aspect, not so much the rushing. And then going on to my pick, I feel great because this is another guy I got to talk about at length with Senor Memphis on our show that we did earlier. I'm taking DJ Giddens out of Kansas State at the running back position. When it comes to size, speed, athleticism, production on the field in this RB class, if you're trying to shoot your shot in the second round at running back in the middle, which is always the haywire range basically for where someone's going to hit or completely bust, I'm going to go for the guy that's pushing 6'2", 215, running that low 4.4 range, that has the pass catching chops, explosiveness. He does have some slight issues with drops, which is why he's dropping this far, but was basically the entire engine for a team that had no real offensive push this year and really, really looked good on tape. So that's who I'm taking at the 206.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have a problem at this point in the draft. Just pick the guy you like. There's a big range of players, so no issues there. And I'm next. I'll take the running back I'll choose in this range, which is Devin Neal. Probably the one running back in the combine that lost steam, but I enjoyed the tape way too much. I'm still a big fan, so I'll let that low 4 or 5 number not sway me away like I let it do with Bucky Irving, and take what I saw on the tape and be happy.
Yep, Kyron Williams. I have him and DJ Giddens in a tier by themselves, directly below the Judkins, Henderson, Sampson tier. So
you don't have RJ Harvey in that tier?
Just below in a tier with him, Kyle Monungai, and Caleb Johnson.
Oh, really low on Caleb Johnson. I thought I was the low guy on Caleb Johnson. Interesting.
Nah, he's at 7 for me.
Okay. All right, yeah, it's kind of pick your flavor guy here. I got 2 guys here that I really, really want. I'm hoping Mike takes.
Well, you're not going to go because I'm going to go first.
Yeah, I'm hoping Mike takes one of them. Let's
okay.
go, Mike.
I'm going to go Bashul Tootin. Is that how you say it?
Ah, yeah.
You did good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to go. So there you go. I'll let you guys feast on that. But I just know he's did really well at the combine, pretty much, and he's got a statistical profile similar to Kenneth Walker. So I love that.
Guy
So, why
busted
not?
people's asses at Virginia Tech. I mean, you turn on that tape and it's immediate fun.
And this is just the part of the draft too where I just smash RBs. I know the Podfather preaches that quite a bit too. So
My
Well,
only issue with Tootin is that he's got the issue that a lot of lighter, faster guys have, that he loves to bounce it outside quite a bit, uses athleticism to try to get around guys, but that can be coached. So
I will say you
could be a steal.
mentioned the Podfather, on Player Profiler, his best comparable is in the class. So there's two. It's CJ Spiller and it's Jamal Charles. So
that's quite a wide range.
Yeah, that's quite a range. But I'm just it's a great home run swing, especially given the landing spot unknown. It could be an absolute home run.
Yeah. At the 208.
Have y'all heard? I saw this stat on X, and in 2 years at Virginia Tech, he has not taken a single snap with the quarterback under center, which is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's something that I'm sure you can learn because the NFL is going to have you with the quarterback under center.
Jeez,
but
yeah.
that is crazy to me.
That is wild. That is nuts.
It's almost more enticing for me, though, because for a guy who predicates his game on speed and burst, his ability to still get those chunk plays, having to hesitate in a pistol or a shotgun standpoint, constantly taking the ball at a standstill as opposed to at a full
That's a good point.
head of steam is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
like
really good point.
You're going to get a lot more pop from him through the line of scrimmage than what you were getting in college.
And he's starting not only at a dead stop, which I love that take, but he's also got to go 4 yards before he gets to the line of scrimmage. So for him to get a 4-yard gain, he actually has to run 8 yards. I think actually getting the quarterback under center, you could see like a James Cook level fantasy production in the right offense. So I think, again, Mike, you picked a great athlete at the right position. I think it's a steal.
Yeah, it's definitely my type of back. My comparison, just for everyone listening, is Pierre Strong. So everyone here knows how I felt about Pierre Strong coming out. I was a big guy, big proponent of him. Pretty similar production profile and the same type of runner, one cut, burst, very viable in the pass game. You just hope he doesn't have the really crappy situation that Pierre Strong has had over the last couple of years. So
tell you what, lots of interesting names at every position. Because I'm a gracious host, Memphis, and I know you got to get out of here, I'm going to let you go next, and then I'll go after you.
Oh, we're going to flip flop. Yeah, I did have kind of a hard out, but I'm going to go with a guy that I've learned. Can I do one? And I'm going to bring up another guy that I really like because I do want to share that. But I'm going to go Alec Ayomanor,
Nice.
the wide receiver out of Stanford. That's the Podfathers guy. And the more I've done research on this guy, the more I like him. He's got a very interesting range of comps, physically. Because right now, I mean, you can either look at the production, which some guys have elite production, some guys have elite athleticism. You get the rare case of a Hampton, a Genty, and it's like they have both. They have the production and the elite traits. This guy right here, good size, 6'2", 4.4 speed. I don't think he's as good of a route runner coming out of college as an Amari Cooper, but I think that could be in his range of outcomes. They have Khalil Shakur and Michael Gallup and Justin Blackman as his range of outcomes. That's kind of a wide range.
Over the place.
But I like that. And then the other guy that I want people to keep an eye on, especially if he goes in the top 100 picks, which is up through day 2. If he goes in the 3rd round, I really love Jacksonville as a landing spot, and I really love New England as a landing spot, especially New England, and it's Xavier Restrepo. He is that prototypical white-ish wide receiver, and I mean more Wes Welker or Julian Edelman than I mean Jordy Nelson or Cooper Kupp. Both those guys were 6'2", incredibly fast feet, can get open. Like if he goes, I think it's 88 overall to New England with Josh McDaniels and a Josh McDaniels offense. He could literally set the world ablaze. I also think Jacksonville would be a great landing spot for him. He's just that older senior wide receiver that I'm going to get in the 3rd round, but I'm not going to get him tonight because we're not going to the 3rd round. But I do have a hard out. I do want to thank you guys for having me on. Dallas, congratulations on the upcoming wedding.
Thank you,
So
sir.
it's a beautiful mustache. If you're not watching, so if you're listening to this on audio, you really got to go to the Dynasty Warzone YouTube channel and you got to check out Dallas's mustache. It's beautiful. Mike, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Memphis.
Austin,
Thanks for coming, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah, glad you're here, man.
And you do a tremendous job with the board. You do a tremendous job with the board. And Jesse, I will see you soon because I'm sure you'll come do some co-hosting duties. And I need to get the rest of you guys on. But until next time, you guys have a good one.
Memphis, thanks for coming.
Memphis.
See you, boys.
All right, now it's time to have some fun. A lot of guys on the board that I'm kidding. Dad's gone. A lot of guys on the board that I really like here, like Scattaboo.
Not to stop you, does anyone have a take on AO Maynor?
Oh yeah, the hands suck. I don't like the route running. He is a kind of do not draft for me.
He's a me and Chad guy.
Yeah, just wanted Memphis to get his say in before
you didn't want to talk bad to your dad.
Exactly. But he's kind of scared. Do not
talk bad about his dad behind his back.
I was curious. So he reminds me a lot of Marvin Jones, like during his Detroit days. Like that's what I envision him at the next level. Like that big bodied guy where you're like, how the hell is he getting 8 touchdowns a year? Like what's going on? Why is he always open in the end zone? He moves really well. I do agree the hands are a little bit suspect. It's just, I mean, when you come in at 3, I guess he came in a little bit smaller than what people thought he was going
6'2".
Sorry, 6'2".
An inch taller than Jalen Royals.
Royal,
I mean, it's just a different player. You know what I mean? Like at kind of the same size. It's crazy to me.
I agree. Yeah. No, I was just curious because I know for me, he's definitely a divisive player. So I figured you had some takes on him. Yeah,
I'm not a big Imanor is how I've been told his name is as we said. All right, so I'm up and I'm taking not Jalen Royals. I love Jalen Royals. I want to talk about him real quick.
Your time will come.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll let it go.
He's not making it out of this round. I promise you.
He's not.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, I'm going to go with my quarterback, probably 3 in this class. Yeah, the real Tannehill comp in this class is Tyler Shug. So I didn't know who the hell this guy was until the combine. Now I know he's 26.
No, Jesse, no.
He's 26. He's slinging it around. He's running around. He's a tough guy. Gets hurt every year. I don't know, man. My guy DJ loves him. So Dallas, tell me why I'm wrong.
Dude, I feel like his name got brought up for the first time. I've been watching tape all year. All right. All last year, everything like that. His name is getting brought up just because Daniel Jeremiah brought him up. It's the only reason at the quarterback position, because now we're getting to the point. No one's actually drafting QB4 at this position. You know what I mean? In this class, like it's not going to end well for you.
So when you listen to Moving the Sticks, he talks about the Browns and the Giants as and the Titans too as well. Do you just go Abdul Carter here and Shug at the top of the second, or do you go Shedeur Sanders and then Nick Skorson at the top of the second?
Jalen Milroe in the 2nd to 3rd range, and you never look back. Like compared to these guys,
they don't need another running back.
No, yeah, well, they might. Chubb's probably gone.
I mean, if you want to have the Colts problem, but worse.
Yeah. Dude, I would rather start Deshaun Watson next year if I was the Browns than Shuck. That's how I feel about that. That's all I'll say.
Okay.
I mean, he's my QB4, but I'm not taking him in the 2nd.
No.
To be clear, I want him to be my 3, but I can't do it.
There's wide receivers
I like a lot.
Running backs that I like better here, but I just wanted to get this guy out here. I had to bring his name up because he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
He reminds me of Davis Mills. Like, will he be serviceable for you? Like, potentially, but like you're taking like what in a normal QB class would be like the QB 6 or 7 in the 2nd. of both a rookie draft and an NFL draft.
I mean,
just not
it's
for me.
entirely dependent on him going at the top of the second
Oh,
round.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is just me parroting Daniel Jeremiah. And I did go and watch the tape, and it's fun. You can't deny that he is a fun watch. Athletic, slings
Rip it,
runs
forget it.
around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but anyway, who you got here, Dallas?
I'll let you guys decide the position I choose from because I'm torn. Do I take a running back or a tight end?
Oh, not wide receiver.
No, I need you to take a wide receiver.
Yeah.
because
I'm not
I have
taking a wide
two that
receiver.
I really want.
I won't. Hey, we
Three
made a
guys,
pact
really.
that Royals isn't making it out.
Well,
So
he's going to
you're
make
the
it
one that
out
has
if
to
you don't take him. So
But there's two other wide receivers that need to go in the second round too.
Now, running back or tight end for me?
running back.
Running back? Okay. This one's going to make some people mad when I say it, but I already brought up his name once earlier. Kyle Monangai is in this tier for me. When it comes to his ability on tape, on the field, I know he didn't test the best, and he's not the biggest back. He is very reminiscent of a guy like Tyrone Tracy for me last year. Like his ability to really cut at that intermediate secondary level with the linebackers and not go down is impressive. If you don't know anything going on basically with his profile and you just throw on the tape, you're going to most likely leave impressed. And then when you actually dive into the stats, he was a consummate producer at Rutgers in the Big Ten against the big boy defenses, constantly putting up over 1,000 yards, averaging right in that 1,300 yards rushing range. It's hard to ignore him. And he was a big name last year. If he had come out, he probably would be ranked higher just because of, the dearth of running backs. But he's a guy I just can't quite quit in this class. It'll be a draft capital dependent decision for me. But at the tail end of the two, not knowing landing spots right now, I'm going with that guy.
Where are you assuming he gets drafted, taking him at 211, like range-wise, round-wise?
Same as Tracy, like fourth, somewhere in that.
Okay. So the good thing for you is you're going to be able to get him in the fourth of rookie drafts.
Oh, yeah.
So you won't have to take him in the second.
No, I'm going off of my tiers.
I
right
love
now.
it
That's
because
exclusively
the
how I
Jaden
roll.
Higgins at 2-1. I know that's what that was, and I love it. I might have to watch more tape because I don't have anything to say about him at all. I think
I've
I'll
never
watch
seen him
one or
take
two games.
I've never seen him take a snap.
I was so,
okay. Well, go and watch my nun guy tape.
I know
Yeah,
mine was totally Guardians of the Galaxy. Who? When you said that, I had to. I got stuff here, and I'm looking him up right now, and I'm like, oh, okay, reading a little bit about him.
Was he the guy at the combine that ran like a 4.6 something? And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
so
he ran
bad.
4.6.
Let me check.
He did run 4.6. I just read it.
Yeah, I think he was that
man.
guy. I was like, who's
Yeah.
this guy? He's big, and he ran that. I was like, poor
Yeah,
guy.
He's a short guy, 5'8", came in at 216 and ran the 4.6 flat. But I will also
Not
say
good.
his 10-yard split was the exact same split that Judkins had.
Yeah, I remember seeing that too. But yeah, he ran out of gas.
Yeah, it's when you look at his production, though, it's really hard to ignore that type of back. And so he like I said, he was Big Ten, Rutgers.
Oh, okay.
Rutgers.
Yeah, and so he's constantly getting their team's getting shit on repeatedly.
Oh,
They
this
just
is the
keep-
Rutgers guy. Yeah,
keep
he is on my
handing him the
list.
ball, and they cannot stop him. It's the only thing they had in the offense. They couldn't do anything about him, and so it's just. He's the type of player where I'm like, yeah, that'll translate. But it could also easily turn into a Boston Scott where I'm like, just give him the rock more.
So, Austin, you lied to us.
Yeah, well, I was fully expecting somebody to take this guy.
Yeah.
So I can't let him sit any longer. It just can't happen. Trey Harris has got to come off the board. We're at 212. I think there's a good chance he goes in the NFL first round, which we're going to look like idiots.
Woo!
I
mean, if you watch that LSU game, wow, there's something to love and there's something to hate. But like, he had a horrible drop in that game. But he also had that crazy run, the catch and run, where he's juking guys. Guys are bouncing off of him. Yeah, Trey Harris and the guy that we were just talking about, Jalen Royals, to me, and this may be blasphemous to you, Dallas, because you love Luther Burden, but those are the two guys that are most dangerous in this draft with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, so like, don't get me wrong, like they're they're bigger players. Like that's the thing is like Luther Burden came in a little bit higher and rocked up than I thought he was going to. He's a little bit thicker, but like Trey Harris is a dog when he has the ball.
Man.
I just think that half of his production was due to Jackson Dart, not Trey Harris. And so that's where it's like you got to meet in the middle kind of with them. So like realistically, both of them kind of shrink towards.
So you want Herbert and you want Chargers in the early second for Trey Harris is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not messing with you. Like you see shades of Herbert with Jackson Dart, and I'm not.
That's why I said that. That's why I said that.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to give that comp directly, but like we're talking the exact same way about Dart as we were about Herbert.
But let's not talk about Dart like he has elite arm strength. His arm strength is nowhere near Herbert's.
Dude, people
the placement
said that
is different than.
No, people said Daniels didn't have the arm strength last year. The exact same reason he was not in the same conversation as Caleb, even with the rushing floor. He has deep ball accuracy. You cannot watch Dart and say he doesn't have the arm to complete the balls because everything Trey Harris does, like 80% of his tape, is outside of the numbers, deep down the field. Like you cannot be in love with one without the other.
How do we get back on Harris? Okay, so I will say, I have Royals above Trey Harris for one reason, and that's that Trey Harris is this giant man that does not really play quite like that. So there are times where I thought he struggled to get off the line, where the corner would sort of carry him in contact 10 yards down the field, and then. Yes, there are times where I didn't think he was in the best position going up for the ball, but it just hit him in the hands, or like there were times where I thought, oh, he's not going to win this. And he didn't need to win it or whatever. You know what I mean? Because like you said, the ball placement or whatever, a luxury that Matthew Golden doesn't have, by the way. Quinn Ewers on his best day could, anyway, yeah, I think not that I think Trey Harris plays soft. I just think that he could play stronger. Like he's not the absolute beast that like Mike Evans is.
Well, he's not refined at all. I mean, that's for sure.
No, yeah, and that's why
the ceiling is ridiculous.
It is. I mean, do I think he's Quentin Nelson? No, not at all. He doesn't have like
he doesn't play guard, so
stink on him. Quentin
Johnston.
Thank you. I always do that. No, he doesn't have like the bust stink on him, and he doesn't have like the shitty hands. But I like Royals better. Royals is more dynamic with the ball in his hands, and he's not a contested catch guy or whatever. But you put Royals in the right role in the right offense, Jacksonville. I mean, he is going to be a late round gem.
Yeah, I feel bad for Chad. We've let a couple of his guys slip, and he's very upset in the chat right now. I think Trey Harris is his wide receiver 2. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
For him?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow! This feels like the Cedric Tillman situation all over again.
I mean, there's a lot of comparisons there. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I have Royals above Harris. But in terms of big boy, I have all three of them kind of in a tier. I like Patrick Bryant just as much as I like Trey Harris on the outside, to be honest with you. I don't think either one does anything super different.
Is he your realtor?
He's a big guy, wide receiver for Illinois.
Okay.
Outside. He's basically their entire passing game.
I'll have to go watch him. Okay.
Chad corrected me. Wide receiver 4. That's
wide receiver. Okay, so let's go.
That's better. I can stomach that.
Let's talk about a couple guys that should have been drafted. Maybe.
Well, how about let Mike finish his? Let him steal the 3-1.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Then maybe
Mike, you got
I take Scattaboo.
Okay,
I feel like 3-1.
That's fair. He was
someone's
next
gonna like him. Someone's gonna want him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he likely doesn't make it, assuming he gets to draft capital.
He'll be in the second somewhere.
Yeah.
What do you think of him, Dallas?
I mean, he's the enigma of the class. People of his athletic profile who, again, I'll stress he did not do any athletic testing because we all knew he wasn't going to do very good in the athletic testing. That's why he didn't do it at his pro day or at the combine. You have to be an elite elite football player in order to break that mold. I'm not willing to bet on him in the first or second round. If a team in the NFL is, I am assuming it will probably be my Bears, and it'll just devastate me. But I just don't know. I cannot find a comp for him that has worked.
Tim
Like it's
Tebow?
been like no, it's been like 20 years like that. And that's
I'm
also
just
the
talking
thing.
about
There's-
the fiery kind of,
yeah, like that mentality, but like it's been like 20 years since you've had a guy with this bad of like an athletic, realistic like profile that we assume him to have. Like he's not super explosive.
Chris
He doesn't have those
Carson?
crazy breakaways. No, Chris Carson ran just as hard, but he was bigger than Cam is. Cam's not that big of a back. And
He's not that
I don't know.
tall.
Yeah.
219, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he's
pretty
just
good
not that
size.
tall.
and I think he's
Definitely
slimmed down
well
for the
built.
combine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
definitely gonna play in the
and-
220s.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like you have to have a team that's willing to give him
Yeah.
20, 25 touches a game, and that just
Right.
isn't the game anymore. And
Yeah.
if you're not an elite athlete and you need volume, you don't succeed in the NFL. So I just can't bank on him personally.
That's my concern.
I don't like this player for fantasy, but for real NFL, he's going to be like what the Packers wanted AJ Dillon to be.
Yeah.
And I've never been an AJ Dillon fan, but I love watching Scatabo.
Mhm.
I just don't know if he's going to be fantasy relevant.
You meant
But-
what the Eagles are going to make him?
Or the Broncos that pass
AJ
on all
Dillon.
the other running backs.
Yeah,
probably not
he's
the-
kind of reminiscent to like Zach Moss, like in all reality.
That's a
Yeah,
statistical
I
profile,
keep
actually.
thinking that with the
Kareem
receiving
Hunt and Zach
ability.
Moss.
Yeah, I like that.
He is a very
Good
good
call.
receiver. So
Yeah.
that is-
Yeah. Who else did we bring up? Oh, Jalen Noel. Let's talk about him. Is he better than a wide receiver 3 in the NFL?
he definitely can be.
Yeah, it's a ceiling versus floor. My comp for him is Parker Washington. It's the same type of, it's the same profile coming out.
He
The
didn't even
same-
get drafted.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's the same type of player. It's just like the dog mentality, but no production. Well, I don't want to say no production. He had production, but like he doesn't realistically have that high of a floor, is what I would say.
Right.
It's
It reminds me a little of Jalen Tolbert.
yeah, that's fair.
Is Bond going to fall this fall in the NFL
Oh,
draft to
yeah.
where he wouldn't be?
Yeah,
I'm
Maybe.
just like, what if he would have beaten the 40 record? Like, is he going in the first round of rookie drafts? Because I just think that's crazy to me.
I mean, what if
Yeah.
Land
For
had
that,
ball?
for
What
that
if
to
Land-
be such a huge difference.
Like,
well,
what
It's
if
not like
Land-
he was slow.
Think of Worthy last year. Worthy as a wide receiver wasn't that good last year. The only reason he was going as high as he was in rookie drafts. Oh, no. Don't whoa.
We did this last year, and
Yeah,
look, we
Chad-
were wrong.
actually.
Guy had
Chad's with
1,000
you.
yards and 10 touchdowns. Crazy.
Chad doesn't think he's all that good.
Yeah.
He sure outproduced a lot of these rookies last year.
I mean,
They're
I
not
think
very
100%.
good.
I think all Texas wide receivers these days need to be kind of looked at a little slant-eyed, don't they?
My issue with Bond is
Whoa,
the
whoa.
off the field stuff and technically the outside the number stuff. I don't think he's going to be locked into football. He looks immature still. I mean,
Yeah,
even
he's got-
at the combine, you could hear him. He wants to do something other than football. He just happens to be talented.
He's got great ability. If he can learn some focus and maturity, he could turn into something. But so many
It's-
guys don't.
He's so inconsistent that
Yeah,
that's the problem.
right,
Is like
yeah.
he's just not consistent on the field, and that's the thing. Is like if you're going to be a speed demon, you have to have a team like Kansas City who's going to use you exclusively in that role. And like that's the thing is like he had those touchdowns and had the yardage, but it was on a lot of broken plays that he just ran in a straight line and scored a touchdown on. Like that's how he scored the points. So I mean, we proved the fact at the combine he's not as fast as Worthy. So if he's going to be a better player, he has to develop his game a lot.
Yeah, he's off my board currently.
I bring this up a lot, and Austin reminded me that people, it was the same thing with Worthy and A.D. Mitchell last year too. When the ball's not coming to these guys in Texas, they don't do anything. It's clearly obvious that they don't give a shit when the ball's not coming. Golden's guilty of it as well, but nobody in a room full of those guys is as bad as Isaiah Bond. He'll literally just stand there with his hands on his hips.
The difference is he had the same problem at Bama, which is why he wasn't at Bama.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
ask Devontae Smith if that shit flies.
Yeah,
he doesn't do anything. A one wide receiver that did not get brought up that definitely I would be sniffing around this range. Savion Williams, TCU for me.
Oh yeah, I know you like him a lot.
Cannot ignore that profile. You cannot at this point. Like, it's one thing if you're taking a Laviska Shenault at the back end of the first, but if you're taking a better profile in Savion Williams at the tail end of the second, like that's. Yeah.
Is this just because you want the Bears to take him so Ben Johnson can run trick plays with him throwing?
Yeah, 100%. Dude, the Bears take Savion Williams in the third round. Let me tell you, he's going to be top end of the second for me. Like, realistically,
you think he can be a consistent weapon, like for fantasy?
Okay, so any player we
like a gadget
about in regards to yards after catch at this point, Savion Williams is better than him. Is what I'd say. Even 10. Like, Savion with the ball in his hands is the best person in this class outside of.
I like Royals.
Oh man, no, but I'm talking like out of position. Like maybe Trevion Henderson is probably better than him, but like other than that, like when you watch him, if he is 5 yards down the field with the ball in his hand and only one guy to beat, he beats him every time. Like and he's rocked up. He came in every part of 6'4", 220. Like, you don't see that profile at the wide receiver position very often. And so if he hits, so that's what I'm saying. It's like,
I'm just kidding.
No, like, this is where you take the risk on those players, though. Like,
correct.
Not at the tail end of the first, at the tail end of the second, going into the third. Like, I'd much rather, in all reality, I forgot about him. I'd probably, if I'm in this position as a team that made the playoffs, was competing for a championship last year, I'm taking him over Royals. I'm taking him over Noel just because of the upside.
Is Damian Martinez going to be anything more than a short yardage back?
I mean, at this point, man, we don't. That's the thing. Like, honestly, from 2-4 back, so much of this is going to be draft capital. Like, I can name 6 or 10 more guys that I really like. Yeah. But in a month and 10 days, half of those aren't going to matter. So it's really going to thin down this back half. Because right now, man, there's a good 6 guys that I'm like, oh, I would love to draft. But when they get 5th round draft capital, I'm like, well, I don't really care anymore.
Can Jaden Blue?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Can Jaden Blue turn into something like Jerome Ford in the NFL?
He can be a kick return specialist.
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's what I peg him at.
Okay. My comp for him is Theo Riddick, old school Lions throwback for y'all here.
Yikes! Yeah, he didn't make it.
Yeah, I mean he's got that gadget ability and can break away, but that's kind of how I feel about him.
So no Jerome Ford ceiling.
No.
Okay. The one name that I feel like we missed is Harold Fanning.
And Arroyo.
I was going to bring up the tight end position. Do you want to have the tight end conversation? Because that was actually what I was going to pose before.
Yeah, there's like four or 5 guys we can talk about.
Yeah, I have 3 guys that probably should have gone somewhere in the 2nd to 3rd round in a fantasy draft. So,
yeah.
Do you have Ferguson in there?
Nope.
Okay. Just curious.
Yep. No. Next one's Arroyo, and then I've got Aronda Gadsden, man. No one's talking about him. I do not understand why.
I don't know if he's going to find a role is the problem. He's basically a receiver.
So I get that, but he came in way bigger than anyone anticipated him. Everyone thought he was going to be this wiry guy, and he tested. Yeah, you don't need him to if he's a move tight end. Can Dalton Kincaid block? No.
He at least showed he tried.
Gadsden
never showed
block.
it. Gadsden never blocked, and a team.
There's so many move tight ends though that don't. Like, that's the thing is, like, Fanning doesn't really block either. Fanning was used as a wide receiver just as much as Aronde was,
but at least he got 1,500 yards.
I would like to talk about.
I totally get that.
I would like to talk about Fanning because he's very interesting to me. Playing for Bowling Green against future gym teachers of America, to quote Chris Harris.
No, he smoked the Aggies. And they had a pretty good defense.
Yeah, it didn't matter who he played. He killed.
Smoked him. Okay. He was the only reason Bowling Green was in that game. That's the only reason I know him is I was like, man, he is tearing them up. How are they not double teaming this guy?
Didn't test amazing, but just seems to be a really good football player. What do we think?
I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to produce for
I'm
NFL
biased, I
team.
think.
I think he's going to be on the field year one. I think he's NFL ready.
It's hard to ignore like the Jonnu move tight end comparisons because when they're receiving the ball, they're very similar, but John is a way better blocker than what he is. One that I came up with was OJ Howard because he was very boom bust play when he was coming out. And that's kind of the exact same thing with Fanning, I think we'll go into, where it's like he may not be involved in the short game as most tight ends are, but on that slip out screen game, the slip out tight end on a full field crosser, like how they use Jonnu, that's where OJ lived and thrived when he was in the NFL. So I could see a very similar role for Fanning.
Didn't OJ Howard tested really well though, didn't he?
Yeah. He was a freak athlete, but if you remember his Tampa Bay games, it was absolutely nothing like 2-point games, 2-point games, 2-point games. And then he would have 2 touchdowns of 60 plus yards. You're like, what just happened?
Fanning tested fine. Fanning, he did sub 4.7, which is the threshold for fantasy producing tight ends. That was the number. He tested fine everywhere else. He didn't do what I wanted. I wanted to see 4.5, but that's not what he is. I mean, he will kill you in a zone, and he can beat the linebacker up the seam.
Jonnu's going to beat you speed, though. I think Jonnu's a lot faster than Fanning, right?
Fanning's long speed's fine though. That's the thing. He's just like a build up. That's
Gotcha.
The main thing with him. You want an athletic comparison. He's very similar to like Greg Dulcich.
That's some. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that guy can get his head screwed on straight and not get in the coach's doghouse,
yeah, it's all the injuries.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he was a talented player. There's one thing I wanted to bring up about Trey Harris, by the way. I don't care what his 40 is. He's not a 40 player. He's a long strider with build-up speed, and when he gets running downhill, good luck trying to tackle that guy. I know this is going to be weird, but he, with the ball in his hands, he's like Derrick Henry as a receiver to me. He's got that same kind of downhill weaving style and like a stiff arm from hell.
Fair.
That's fair. Chad did bring up a name in the chat that I agree with.
Yep.
Torrey Horton is in my next wide receiver tier. Big Torrey Horton guy.
Yeah.
He dealt with injuries last year, but his tape from 2023 is really, really good. And he ran a respectable speed. Like he's not even technically out of like his injury purview from last year to where he should have been competing in the combine, and he still ran in the 4.4s. So it's pretty good for a guy his size.
All right. Last call. Anybody else?
I'd like to ask Dallas on Tez Johnson. Are you interested in the third?
That's a DC question. So like you guys asked about Isaiah Bond earlier, I have currently just a standalone tier. Isaiah Bond, Tez Johnson, Ty Felton, all for different reasons, all for the same type of body type, basically. Isaiah Bond, surprisingly, is the largest out of the tier, but the one that I have the most question marks about. Tez Johnson is the smallest, the one I have the least question marks about. And Ty Felton's right in the middle. I think he's probably the most pro-ready out of any of the players. Came in middle height, middle weight. I just don't think he has the athleticism. So those are the three like smaller build guys where it's like you're looking probably at like a Jamison Crowder for one of them. You're looking at like a Rondell Moore for the other one. And you're looking for a Diami Brown for the other one. Like I'm not optimistic for all three of those players. One will prove me wrong. I just don't know which one.
That's fair. His short shuttle was absurd, especially testing so slow on the long speed. And like you watch the tape and the long speed looks like it's there. That's what confused me. And I didn't expect 4.3 numbers, but I expected him to be competitive in the 40. But then I saw the short shuttle and I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But at 56 pounds is what he came in at. He better be able to move his feet really fast. So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, that's the thing with his wide receiver profile is that he was brought in this year to be the deep threat guy, and he kind of lost it to Holden. Holden was a more like tried and true, like deep threat for Oregon this year. And he's not in this class, but like that was the one thing that was kind of concerning. So like, I think if one guy is most likely the closest to Rondell Moore, you're probably looking at a Tez Johnson just because he has the athletic traits, that short, quick movement ability. It's just, you're going to have to find someone that can use that guy because, I mean, he's literally the smallest wide receiver like ever at this point. And it's, I mean, we were taking some leaps and bound bets when it came to a guy like Tank Dell last year or 2 years ago now. It's a completely different story with Tez.
Yeah, he's tiny.
Yeah. Donnell Pumphrey as a wide receiver. That's what I see.
Dude, Donnell Pumphrey gets brought up. Dude, he was so good in college. He was so freaking good. Like,
he never took a snap in the NFL.
It was a shame. Like, how did no one
never got a
know
carry.
how to use him? It was insane. Like, it didn't make sense.
All right. Anybody watching anything besides Severance?
Ted Lasso. Did I mention that last week?
Yeah, you did.
I just started.
Yeah, I'm on season 3 now. I felt like it really
Yeah,
uphill, and then it just kind of going downhill.
It jumps the shark and then craters bad.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah.
First 2 seasons were a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It really just depends. Yeah. If anyone's into reading what they watch, we're really big into like cooking shows, me and my fiance. And so there's a show called Culinary Class Wars. It's a Korean cooking show where they basically like almost do like a class breakdown, like white coats versus black coats, basically like professional chefs versus non-professional chefs. They have battles, really fun watch, a good little comedy aspect to it, as long as you're okay with reading subtitles. So
as a chef, that would be fun for me.
Yeah.
Austin, anything for you?
Duke trying to win a national championship. It's time.
Good luck.
I think that was last week too. But
no, they won an ACC championship. Excuse me.
Right on.
Don't worry. I'm rocking.
Nice.
Nice.
But yeah, hoping for. I guess I got about a month to wait, but hoping for a national championship.
All right. I discovered an older show. It started in 2017. Pete Holmes. It's called Crashing. Pete Holmes, a very like a clean comic, kind of just a goofy Midwest kind of guy. Really good. Really like exceptionally good. I'm surprised at how many fucked up things happen to this dude. But it's Crashing because he's doing stand up and he crashes on stage. He's crashing on people's couches. His life is crashing around him. It's just really not a fun show, which you would expect it to be, which is why I like it, I think.
Nice.
Mike, anything? Just Ted Lasso?
Well, I mean, you guys are going to be like, what the heck? But I've got an almost 10-year-old daughter, and she's really into the Hunger Games. A new Hunger Games book just came out yesterday. She was homesick from school today and listened to 19 chapters on Audible. So now I have to catch up to her. But yeah, we were pretty excited about that because we watched all of them over spring break, actually.
Oh, Chad used to bring up Coco Melon, so you're not that bad.
I mean, come on, Hunger Games it's like
better
young,
than really
it's
good.
young adult, and
Yeah.
I enjoy it as an adult. Actually, it's just a really interesting storylines.
Wait till she discovers Twilight, Mike. You're gonna have so much
No,
It's coming.
fun.
It's coming.
not gonna do that.
About 3 years. You said 10, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 years.
Yo, what's the track? Is it Hunger Games, Divergent, Twilight, or is Twilight in between those two?
The thing is, the Divergent movies just weren't that great. I
What?
never read the books
No.
though. I didn't think they were.
They always pick a lead actress who's just like. For anyone not watching, I did a pretty good rendition there of the lead.
Yeah.
actress
Can you do it
in all
again?
those
Because I
movies.
wasn't looking.
Spot on.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one. That's a good one.
Head on. All right, guys. It's been War Games.
Peace.